Hello and welcome to the Wrestling Headlines WWE RAW review. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and we are live here on YouTube and also available in podcast form later on. The link's in the description, or head over to WrestlingHeadlines.net for all your latest wrestling news. And it's my first RAW review of the year, having taken 3 weeks off over Christmas, New Year's and Wrestle Kingdom. I say taking time off, I mean specifically from RAW. Last week, a very busy week for him, where I was guesting on stuff because of end of year. Kind of recaps. There was both nights of Wrestle Kingdom. There was NXT's New Year thing. The Kingdom of Honor guys covering AEW and talking New Japan as well. We've had busy week for him, and we've had all the stuff covered. But it's calming down now in terms of the output for WWE, focusing. I mean, the wrestling world really. New Japan Pro Wrestling building up to their New Beginning show. WWE building up to the Royal Rumble. And AEW hyping up the second week of their New Year's Dash, what's it called? No, New Year's Dash, the New Year's Smash. That was it. So many rhyming stuff to remember. But yeah, so. And I don't know if you were able to hear my voice, I overdid it on Twitch earlier today. Just to explain it, why my voice feels a bit raspy. I've got a cup of tea that I will have to stop to drink. I'm playing a video game called Yakuza 0, and there's lots of different characters who don't, where a lot of it isn't voiced, so I've been reading it out loud during the Twitch, and I've given like every individual character a different voice. And fair to say, I gave it my all, but it does mean when I come to do a WWE RAW review that maybe it's a bit wiser to hold it back. Imp's gone a little bit raspy. I'm not quite Eric Young, 40 years of smoking yet, but definitely feel a bit raspy today. So if you want to know why my voice is, I feel it going quickly. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, my first RAW review of the year. 3 weeks off, I feel like I'm all refreshed going in for it. Biggest thing is I didn't watch the Legends show. I saw quite a lot of, I didn't see that it was like awful from a kind of structure overall, in terms of if you're judging it as a show. It wasn't a complete failure of, God, I can't make it through this type of show. For me, a bad Raw is a real struggle to get through. It doesn't mean that you don't get much value out of the segment. It's genuinely a pain to get through compared to what I've seen from Legends, where it's just not really much from the Legends stuff. Like, you say the appearances, they're just appearing backstage. Then there was a final segment and Bill Goldberg comes out, it's just like, ugh. But for me, it's kind of like, to temper it, my worst show of the year was like during the summer at one point. I think they'd moved into the Thunderdome, and I counted. It's when Raw Underground was on, and it was just like loads of really quick. It's one of those episodes where it's loads of really quick segments. And it's kind of like, I got the impression they were trying to, like, for it to try out what they used to do, I guess, in the Attitude Era, which is more shorter, quicker segments. Essentially, you don't get as much of the wrestling to flesh out. But over a 3 hour period, it just drained me. I was like, God, there's been like 12, 13 segments on this show. That is way too much. I was losing interest rapidly. For me, that's a bad show, where I've had to pause it and come back to watch it because it's just drained me so much, and me mentally, what have you. So I wouldn't call what I saw. So I didn't watch it, but what I got from Raw Legends was, it wasn't that bad. It does have a feeling of a show, even if it's kind of like, come on, have you got nothing else to kind of pop up with rating? I mean, it's to please the network, then they pop on with their life, really. If anything, it's not meant to please me. Plus, I watched Wrestle Kingdom instead. I had a lovely time. But both of those reviews are up here on the channel. You can come and watch them, listen to them, whatever. Anyway, but this was a hell of a time to return. Day before, on Monday, we got the news that the WWE Champion has tested positive for COVID. So my return off to a great start, but that's like the surface of it. Both Raw and SmackDown apparently will be affected. It's not just this one guy's got it. Of course, the worrying thing is Raw Legends was last week, Drew McIntyre. Multiple people in WWE were interacting with that older generation, and now one of them tested positive for COVID. It's why you don't do it. Obviously, I live in the UK, and we've had the spread of our new, I forgot what the word is, but a new alteration, that's not the right word, of the virus, and it spread so much easier. Like, it's, in terms of your chance of getting it, it's increased so much with this new variant, that's what I'm looking for. That everything is like double as dangerous as it was beforehand. I think it's just shy of double, but point being, it's a lot. Because today just has enough as it is. And to then watch WWE, knowing in my country we're talking about harsher lockdowns. Like, we're in lockdown, but how can we make lockdown harsher. That's the talks we're having. And then I watched WWE, and they've got they do the Legends Night where they've got a load of older wrestlers all sitting on the stage next to each other. Then they're doing the wrestling. WWE UK is the only wrestling that's happened in reaching a year. I would say there was like 1 or 2 special shows throughout the spring. At some point, maybe early spring, April, maybe at the latest, maybe even March. But it's been a long time, and to watch, it's like it's a different world. It's really weird for me to watch it go. It's like it doesn't exist almost, and that's kind of like the road WWE have taken, which is what I saw. Some people are like, why are you saying that AEW do this all the time? It's like, yeah, but that's how AEW have treated it from day one. The reason Drew McIntyre's announcement stands out is because that's not how WWE have been handling it. It's more hush-hush behind closed doors type of thing. Like, if AJ Styles hadn't blurted it out on his live stream, would you have known he had COVID? Like, he got revealed on his Twitch randomly as he was just chatting to people. Compared to, like, this, or what we've seen from AEW, it's been, like, big announcements of it. You've known if they've had it. They've been pretty open about it. Not everyone's making it massively publicly, but they've not hidden it either. Compared to WWE, where it was, like, for a time, he got apparently was getting in trouble for revealing it. Like Renee Young getting in trouble for outwardly saying, well, I've got COVID. But yes, it's such a different world to look into. And to say there's been another outbreak, apparently this one will also impact just across the board. The words I saw were to do just something to do with the holiday, so AEW will be impacted, apparently Impact will as well. My main thing is, in terms of evaluating this show, because this is the reason I'm going into this is because in terms of my overall feelings of this show, the current era and COVID still being a thing, even though it's months later, we've seen months of COVID impacted shows with WWE. I judge them all differently from my show where like there's not really been anything massive that's caused it to massively change. However, in this COVID world, we're getting shows where suddenly something's going to have to be massively changed, and partly here, the WWE champion tested positive, therefore he can't be at the show for this week or the next, and of course you're assuming he doesn't test positive the week after either. And like, is he definitely going to even beat out the Rumble? They've made the fancy cartoon graphic, he has to be. No, that's not, like, it isn't guaranteed he'll definitely be over it by then. That's just the window most people, and because he's not asymptomatic, because he is asymptomatic, the chances of him returning in that period seem relatively high, but some people have it for months. That's just it. There isn't a set thing of, you'll be fine after this period. Like, it's all over the place. The most likely is the 2-week period, but there is always that chance. There are people all over who've had it for a really long time. Because there's different terms for it, for like long COVID, short COVID, whatever. Obviously, the most you hear about are the short-term ones. People in sports specifically seem to be catching... You hear news of like people in sports catching COVID, then coming back within a couple of weeks or so. So you'd assume no different, but again, those things are out there. It's not something to be messed with, and this new variant is even worse. So I'm amazed that football hasn't shut down in my country. I think I said that in the NXT review. So when I look at Raw, and I see they've had to shift the show about, and I see, the reviews of it, it just wasn't that good, it felt like they were wasting time, and I'm just like, yeah, they suddenly had to fill loads of time, and it's not just Drew, is the kind of takeaway here. He's the big one that they announced, he's the big one who got the kind of message on the TV box, but loads of people will be missing from both Raw and SmackDown and AEW, and as I said as well, Impact as well, especially on this week of TV. Like, this has impacted both companies, both shows within WWE, and it's, for me, I'm not going to be too harsh on these shows. For me, the fact we're getting them, because that's the point I was making with someone from the UK, the fact we're even getting wrestling at all, for me, it's really mind-boggling. As in, no way in hell should wrestling be allowed to happen. However, the fact it is means when these circumstances pop up, and they happen, of course they do. I'm not going to be too harsh when they've had to rearrange the show about. Like, the fact we're even getting it is like... I won't say I feel massively lucky that we are getting it, because of, the stories of how that actually happened, cough, a bit of bribery, but it is happening. So I can't be too on a review like this. I personally feel they did a really good job in a situation where they suddenly had all this time to fill and create something with. And I generally feel like they did a decent job. Was this the planned ending all along? If it was, Okay. It's an odd one. A really odd ending, especially if you're hyping up Drew versus Vandy again. It's all about giving that momentum to Drew going into the Rumble. No idea how you transition from Drew Vandy Orton into that, but Triple H Orton, it worked. It's an odd one. But overall, we got what we got, and it was a decent Raw, I think I'd say. When you were watching it, you're like, right, this does feel a bit like filler, but because you know exactly why and totally understanding of the circumstance, it's like, you know what, genuinely, the fact this show isn't cancelled because there has been an outbreak, which is the other part of this. I'm making a massive jump, but in my country, for example, the football, when a club has had an outbreak, their matches have been cancelled. Yes, of course, they're going to play a different team, so you're putting the other team's players at risk as well. Whilst this would be essentially cancelling all sessions between yourself. I don't really know how to. It's like if you went to the match of football and you were playing like 5 versus 5 from your own team. So it's from the same WWE team. It's the massive tangent I'm going on. But to rein it back, the point being the match was cancelled when there was an outbreak. There's been an outbreak in WWE again, and the show's going on. It's not been cancelled or anything. And I just it's a case in point. There has been an outbreak. It is not safe, yet they're going on anyway. People will be tested and what, but key point really to make is whenever they're using the test of the be-all and end-all, but it is like a 50% chance that it will show up positive. 50-50 chance that it will tell you whether you have had COVID or not. It doesn't tell you that you don't have it. That makes sense. So it's not bad. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's better than nothing, but it's not the be-all and end-all. So even in this situation when there's been an outbreak, it would not be safe to wrestle. The entire time it's not been safe to wrestle. But point being, I'm not going to judge the show too harshly. Probably because the situation we're in, the fact we're getting wrestling, I consider us, as wrestling fans, extremely lucky that wrestling has even continued. It has not. For me, it's. If you're going by the health and the science of what wrestling should have stopped, just like it did over in the UK, it should have stopped. And there's people who cover it and everything. Extremely lucky that it's not died off. Like the amount of sites would be in trouble. Like what news would we have? Like what would I be doing on a Tuesday or a Thursday with NXT? It wouldn't be anything. There would be no content for us to cover. So like over in the UK, like before WWE UK kicked back off again, there was no wrestling, and since it has, there is no other wrestling. So we consider ourselves very fortunate it's not died off. The ecosystem around wrestling has been able to continue through this crappy time. But that doesn't mean I'm super positive about it. Anyway, watch this. I think it shouldn't be. I'm babbling on too much. I need to get to what happened. Fire! Jesus Christ. What's a fire one of these? But this show is massively impacted by COVID-19. Apparently we will see the effect on SmackDown as well, be it with AW too. So I'm not just talking, because WWE have had the most outbreaks. It's happened quite a few times. Like, when are you taking this seriously type of thing. This show included loads of keep safe, social distance type of thing, messages from Drew McIntyre, which was well delivered. Before we watch wrestling, which obviously is none of those things. Even if you get tested, and you can say that to the media, I guess. Anyway, football's the same over here. I'm personally on the side of it's not safe, but I don't know how far the variant has spread in America. Over in the UK, it's like lock up shop kind of time, as in the plague's coming, hide from the rats. It's time for lock the hatches type of time. I don't know what it's like in America, but I do know I've always felt when I've watched WWE, some people want to escape from it. Personally, I really like how AEW have done it, where you get your escape, but they don't pretend it doesn't exist. And I feel like when I watch WWE, sometimes I just feel like it's not even a thing. Mainly I get that when I watch them being pally and everything and patting each other on the shoulder and all that. It's technically, you're doing wrestling. You're already not following the rules, so who gives a crap, really? But, you're already doing wrestling, so you're already putting yourself in harm's way. In terms of COVID, so just go for it. So another backstage, who gives a crap? But when I watch it, I still get the reaction, because it's like when I watch an old sitcom and people they're in a packed pub and everyone's patting each other on the shoulder, "Hey up, pal, how you doing?" Those famous sitcoms. But with wrestling, when they're doing the same things, but that's now. the reaction I get was, oh, look at all those people being in close proximity and touching people that they don't live with. Isn't that weird? It's like, but I watch WWE and that's happening right now. And I get that same feeling. Anyway, I need to divvy off so onto the actual topics. Let's take a sip of the New Day tea. Oh, soothes the throat. Anyway, the main event was Triple H versus Randy Orton. Let's get into the fire. That's what you're here for. The fire. Dun dun dun. Out of control. Dun dun dun. Dun dun fire. Randy with hopefully people know that song. Randy with the heel stallings before we got our fill of punches in the match itself. Descended into a quick old brawly brawl. Oh, wait, I've not said the match. Triple H versus Randy Orton in the main event. We lost Drew, we got the replacement. It descended into a quick old brawly brawl within record time. I did see on the timestamp, I think, when we started, because again, you live in the UK, I can see when the episode's set to end. There's normally a bit of adverts afterwards, but I was like, there's really not long left. It's going to be 5-6 minutes left of this show when you're starting. As in, something's going to happen. And quick old brawly brawl within record time. Orton into the steel steps, his fight back countered, and Orton onto the announce table as well. Triple H finding his sledgehammer as he slowly made his way into the ring. Orton had something in his hand. I don't know if it was the turnbuckle or what. Very, very slowly, Triple H came back into the ring, but the lights, very, very slowly as well, turned down for the Fiend, do, and then Triple H would continue a bit more. So I guess I'll keep focusing on Orton, and then I keep going, and then would go down. And it did a close up of Triple H reacting to the lights going down again, when Triple H then lifted his sledgehammer before the lights fully went out to find out it was a flame at the head. I popped for that, I'm going to be honest. I've seen that Alexa Bliss appeared and did something, so I got spoiled. It's a thing of living in the UK. I'll go and I'll check messages, and now and then I'll accidentally see a spoiler. It happens, unfortunately. But no idea that was going to happen. So immediately like that was a cool spot. I really took that. Yeah, lifting the sledgehammer, seeing that it was a flame at the head of it, before the spotlight back on the ring with a pinkish tinge as a warped version of the Funhouse theme played, and Triple H had vanished. It'd gone fully black after the sledgehammer. Then when it came up with that purplish pinkish tinge, it was the Funhouse theme playing, all warped. And Alexa Bliss was in the corner, staring right at Orton before, that's right, having some form of device in her hand that fired a fireball into Randy Orton's face. And we go off air with Randy my face, ahhing with his hand over his face. Well, I can say at least I didn't expect that. 100%. If you've not been enjoying the Firefly Funhouse or the Fiend, their stuff that's been ending Raw recently, this will do nothing to change your mind. As in, if this is the kind of stuff that you use to then go at WWE with, what are you doing? This won't do anything to change your mind. Personally, it's WWE shenanigans nonsense with their spooky character. It's different, gets people talking. I guess it's slowly getting back at Orton with something. It's Alexa being the aggressor via the Fiend. Each time making sure that you're aware that it's the Fiend doing this, but it's through Alexa rather than through Bray. I won't call it divisive, that's not quite right. Because it's people who love this, absolutely love this. We found that out with the end of year wars with Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, making it onto the top 3 if I'm right, top 3 wrestlers of the year. He generally got votes. People who love the Fiend really do love the Fiend, and they are into this stuff. People who don't, but people who aren't into it, really aren't into it. Really don't get it. And when I say don't get it, I mean, I don't mean that in a God, you're just not getting it guy. I just mean it doesn't appeal to them at all. And some things I like, when I like the stuff the Fiend does, I really like it. But I've not really dug the, recent stuff. And I think I was saying it when I was going into TLC. I wasn't really a massive fan of what they were doing going into TLC. But I was like, with cinematic match, I might be able to do something with it. And they blew everything out of the water for me. Which is set a man on fire. Use the cinematic stuff to really go for it. And they did. Blew all of my expectations out of the water. I massively high on that as a cinematic match, not as a match you give stars to. There's a reason I don't do stars. But yeah, the stuff since, which have been keeping the feud going, I just found it a little bit weird. Not massively into it. And this is another one where it's like continuing Fiend things, but it's just going off air after an odd happening. Like the last note you're left with is just odd. It's weird. It's meant to be like a surprise thing that happens. There's another one. Alexa Bliss firing the fireball. Didn't expect it. At least I can say that. It went off air with something totally unexpected. At least there's that. It doesn't mean I was into it or going to be a massive fan of it. I just found it a bit strange. Randy Orton's in the Royal Rumble match. The Fiend is still nowhere to be seen, and his storyline revolves around this. Assuming that the Fiend will show up at Royal Rumble and eliminate him, maybe. Doesn't mean the Fiend is in the match, just like often in WWE, someone you're feuding with will appear and throw you out. Like the McMahons eliminating Shawn Michaels in 2006. And it says, me, totally the nerd and lucky that I happened to have watched that Royal Rumble the other day. My memory's not that good. Like I don't have all those facts stored in my head. I'm not Chris Charlton. Other than nerdy. I can't remember that stuff in one ear out the other. I've forgotten Samoa Joe's name as I've been talking about him. That's the boy you're working with here. Some people are really, really high on the Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, like weird, spooky shenanigans. Others are like, stop this crap now. I float about in the middle. If you had to say, it seemed like for each note, I kind of have a different reaction almost. This one I was like, that was weird. Didn't expect it. That was weird. So I'm like, when I'm thinking about it, I'm bouncing between those two spectrums. So I don't know what I think. It surprised me because I wasn't expecting it, but it did. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I like the current arc that they've been going. It feels a little bit off. If that makes sense. Yeah. I think part of it is it's one of those segments where the scriptiness of WWE really jumps out, and supernatural stuff just feels a bit off. Whilst again, I see just the amount of praise. It's clearly working for people. So, like with Orange Cassidy, where for some it really, really worked, and for others it was just like, I just don't get him. I just don't get Orange Cassidy at all. Yet in our end of year awards, he wins Feud of the Year for AEW, the Orange Cassidy Chris Jericho stuff. So when it works, go with it. Even if it's a relatively large section of the crowd aren't really behind it. Like with Orange Cassidy stuff, it's clearly working. There are a massive segment of the fans who are clearly into it. Just go for it. Yeah, it's not going to be for everyone, but if you kind of hit that same vein, keep at it. It appears to be working to some people. I just don't know. I'm not in that bracket that despises it, but I am in that bracket where I like some stuff, I don't like other bits. Yeah, I've said the same point way too much. Anyway, I'll go through the show in order. Starting off with the meeting of Randy Orton and Triple H, would have made sense to start with that actually before going into the main event, but sod it. We kicked off with a recap of Randy having quick wah-wahs with the Legends last week, seeing what Raw Legends show was like. Like, man, am I glad I watched Wrestle Kingdom. Man, am I glad that those Tokyo Dome shows fell on the days it did. Those shows, the Raw Legends type stuff, I said earlier, it's not designed for me anyway, but I'm rather glad I didn't have to cover it. Instead, oh no, I've got to cover 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom. Oh no. Again, New Japan Pro Wrestling is my number one, and so when I watch Monday Night Raw and I'm reviewing this or I'm reviewing NXT, I feel like I'm able to detach, because I've not got my world where I get invested superly in the characters is New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm really nerdy about them. I'll really get into that. I'll fanboy about it. I won't even hide the love for Jay White right now, but with WWE type stuff, I feel like because I've got that investment, I know that at any moment I could just walk away. If I wasn't doing this, I'd be able to just walk away and go to New Japan. I'd still have wrestling in my life. I wouldn't be walking away from wrestling. It'll be like this company that I'm just not able to get into. I've got AEW, I've got New Japan. I'd be full, I'd be fine. But but it helps me kind of like get through the show because I know I don't get invested. I feel like I'm on the outside looking in. It's weird. Maybe that's just because I'm from the UK, and that's always been there, and I haven't realised it before I'm doing these writing copious amounts of notes. But anyway, so Triple H comes out, get his whole grand entrance, but before he can really get his words out, Randall Orton popped on out and tried to goad the fella into a match. It didn't work at first, but Wrestling 101 claimed the wife wears the trousers in the relationship, and her man goes all grumpy grump, and you 100% have your match now. Or title opportunity, whatever you want. Like, who needs to win the Rumble? Just go that route. It works every single time. That said, this is a last-minute replacement on the day, needed something. I'm not going to criticise they went 101. I'm not really going to criticise that. It's like, they needed something. It was fine. They tried the unique route of Triple H not accepting there and then he did so later in the show. But Triple H, the moment Tom Phillips told us that Triple H had not accepted, like the moment, like as soon as it's finished, like just so you know, he didn't accept. It's like, well, the fact that's been hammered home means we're getting that promo later where Triple H accepts and Randy Orton then has his little, like, oh, I'm going to beat him up anyway, and then you have the fight later. So yeah, it was a fine replacement. It didn't do anything for me. I'll be honest, I completely zoned out of both of their promos. I think part of it was that I knew this was like a last minute replacement and on this show trying to build interest, but then after this show might not matter. But then I got to the main event, it's like, maybe there might be something a bit more to it involving Triple H now. But when I was watching the show at the time, I was like, you're going to have your match, we're going to move on. That was my assumption. They did something different with the ending. So who knows now? Where's Triple H gone? What's happened to him? Was the purple light more to show that we've just entered the Fiend world a little bit, or did he just vanish? I mean, The Undertaker did that all the time, where people just disappear when they're no longer relevant in it. So yeah, not going to complain too much. Charlotte Flair in Gorilla, she says she's patched things up with her pa, and she's going out there to teach a lesson to the classless lady. Also, after taking 3 weeks off in terms of like Charlotte Flair, for me, taking 3 weeks off, Christmas, New Year's, Wrestle Kingdom, I've only seen Charlotte on the one Raw since her return, so her being back in the show is still all fresh for me. It's like, Charlotte Flair, she's awesome. I really highly rate Charlotte Flair. It's one of the things where writing for a site, I sort of saw the amount of comments of people like going on at her, but almost personally sometimes, or digging at her as a wrestler. When I'd always looked at it as, it's not her fault. The booking's just a bit crap. Like, she as a talent is amazing. Personally, I rate her so highly. Like, there's a reason she is pushed as strongly as she is. Anyway, it's not her fault as a talent that the people like writing her lines for her and doing all this. It's not the best in the world. So when she returns, like, yes, an amazing talent has returned. I wonder what they're going to do with her. I don't have the highest hopes, but apparently part of her returning this time was to actually have a plan for her after she got as pissed off as the rest of us with her NXT run. So that's good to see. I say good to see. We'll see, won't we, if it is good. After Flair's entrance, Lacey got her own Gorilla interview. She dedicates her match to Ric Flair in uniquely flirtatious fashion. Fair to say it had the desired effect of riling Charlotte up a tad, but, you know, when we get to the match, you'll see that just destroyed her. And before the bell rings, this is when commentary led us into Drew McIntyre's video explaining his absence due to testing positive for COVID and his well-delivered message about staying safe, just a little bit broken down by then featuring wrestling during a pandemic. Keep your mask on, stay social distance. Right, here's two people basically hugging. It's just like, right, okay. Anyway, the match itself, a decent match between Charlotte Flair and Lacey Evans, personally. I was fine with the in-ring story they told. Doesn't mean I'm totally behind the Ric Flair, Lacey Evans story they've got going on. When WWE tried this quite a lot. I've never been into these kinds of stories. It's done this with Ric Flair before, I swear, with her as the dad. Him, where one of the other wrestlers using him being all old and horny to kind of use him as a distraction to benefit them. I swear somebody's done it, like, within these past years. I can't remember who it is. Anyway, but I like the story in the ring of, like, Flair, the veteran general, like, in control of it. Wearing Lacey down from minute one, the devious tactics needed for Evans to survive. And, woo, Ric Flair's out here to cause havoc. Speaking of those tactics, the old man thinking with the wrong head again. Flair was a tad off as soon as her pa worked out, with him walking out mid-match, giving Lacey the space to get into the match. The last was still in control, but Evans started getting in the odd fight back, and this is what led to the ending. With Charlotte was winning once again after a little ringside kerfuffle didn't actually lead to anything. She nails the natural selection on Lacey. However, after that, it's right at the ring ropes, and you're like, right, we know exactly where this is going. Natural selection, right at the ring ropes, right by Ric Flair, and obviously he puts the foot onto the ropes. And that is they're spotted by the referee. I just remembered that wasn't the ending. Spotted by the referee, and then Charlotte goes angrily, then goes to follow up again. But Ric Flair grabs her foot on the ropes for the second week in a row, and Lacey Evans falls on top and scores the pin. Before Lacey then escapes the ring and like hugs Ric Flair, like thank you, babe, kind of way. And Ric Flair's like, ooh, yeah, female. So yeah, horny old man. Yeah, the winner of the 2021 Jim Ross Horny Old Man Award. So far, it's going to Ric Flair. We've got a whole year to go. Let's not say that Jim Ross isn't going to win it again. Like we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it was. I'm not a massive fan of the arcs. As I said before, this is an arc WWE have ran many times before. They could tell it. They could go a slightly different way. But from what I know, WWE, my expectation is you could almost pick beat for beat what's going to happen with this one. That said. Match itself was fine. I enjoyed the wrestling that they put on. I like the story that they told in the ring, but I don't know, like the actual, then afterwards the promos and stuff that we're going to be getting. It's like, I fear next week, and stop bringing Ric Flair back, for God's sake. Anyway, the pandemic's still a thing. You don't have to keep bringing him back. Anyway, Kayla was then in the interview ring with Keith Lee. Can he get a word in before Sheamus barges on in? Praised the man for his performance last week, but can't exchange respect before Miz and Morrison arrived. This year, they're here to right the wrongs of 2020. This week, starting with those two big lads. Not gonna lie, the OTT antics of Miz and Morrison seemingly just trying to pop the boys. It made me laugh. Just over delivering every line they were doing. Morrison jumping in very, very quickly as Miz had literally just finished. So yeah. Yeah. For me, their way of nearly talking over each other, they're getting the jabs in so quickly. I personally think it really works in some areas. Like with the backstage interview here, it really works. They're walking in there. It depends on the insult, really. Depends on the line that they're delivering. If it's that's a bit WWE scripted crap, then it just dies flat for me. But when it's like this, where it's almost, when I say almost banter, it's obviously scripted banter, but it's still. Where they're trying so hard to get a reaction out of Keith or Sheamus. I really enjoyed watching that. And I didn't see either of them pop, so good on you, Keith and Sheamus. Or Mike and John, go back to the drawing board. Have a good look this week. You try popping them again. Anyway, after this, we've got our first example of double duty in the... we've got 3 wrestlers wrestling 2 matches, like one after the other. And our first was Jeff Hardy, and in seeing that I saw a few reports of, well, why was this happening? Or was it really to fill time? And even if it was to fill time, yeah, like suddenly out of nowhere you got to shape this card up, and there's an outbreak. Like how, of course, as me on the outside, I don't know how deep it is through the roster. Ooh, as I knock my camera, how deep it is through the roster, but it is. It's obviously bad enough. But yes, this match was billed and promoted as Elias versus Hardy. No fear, you will get it. But on his way out, Elias informed us he's damaged his thumb. So it's Jeff Hardy versus Jackson Viker instead. How's he injured his thumb, you ask? Looking at the commentary, he's talking all about it. It's like, well, if you play guitar enough, you just, yeah. It's like, yeah, I feel your pain, man. Like, if you just play guitar too much, you have to put a bandage around your thumb. For reasons. A very short match though, this first one, with Elias standing up to distract within a minute and Viker rolling Jeff Hardy up for the sneaky win. And then it was like Elias delivering his line. Well, you see, bell rings, you see wrestling's happening. Elias delivers his line, then Elias gets up, causes a distraction, Viker rolls up and wins. Like, it's almost that quick. Really, really short match. Afterwards, Jeff had none of it and was right on the mic calling out Elias. Easily getting in the musician's head with the "your big lad's better than you" insult. Elias agreeing whilst winking at Riker, like, totally don't interfere. And yeah, we get our comedy bit later. Match number 2 we have for Jeff. Like, technically double duty. I saw it as multiple wrestlers with double duty before I watched the show, and then watched it as like, but come on, like, the first match was like a minute long. Like, is it really like massive double duty wrestlers having to wrestle like more than like 2 matches, multiple of them? It's like, yeah, but they weren't very long, really. Anyway, Jeff Hardy's second match of the night was immediately against Elias. So easy to get into his head. Fair to say, these lads are a bit familiar with each other. One of Raw's numerous never-ending mid-card feuds, and it's like, guys, I've been gone for 3 weeks, and they're still wrestling. Has nothing shifted or moved on? At least he didn't have New Day versus the Hurt Business, but 2 members of the Hurt Business were missing. So, was that... What did you plan to do, New Day versus the Hurt Business? Like, I really hope not. I hope you moved on, please. Elias with some smart counters, like yanking on your man's butt scarf to get him down off that top rope. But in the end, Hardy's story played out. Without Riker's help, Jeff was easily able to fight back and ground the Music Man for the Swanton Bomb win. And afterwards, Elias questioning why was there no help, and Riker was like, "Well, you asked me not to." Wah, wah, this sitcom was brought to you by... I did the British end of radio sitcom thing. I don't think... Is this in America? Where when your on-radio comedy thing would end, it's like, this show was brought to you by the Winona Band and James Mitchell, the producer. Directed by... I don't know if that's a thing outside of this. The country. Anyway, sip of tea. I can feel my voice going. Well, I'm so desperate for that tea. Forgot to, breathe and stuff. Just get it down here. Anyway, Sheamus and Keith Lee versus The Miz and Morrison, following on from our promo earlier. Really, this match, big lads together, having big lad fun, working together, they get the job done. Some great spots painting these big, powerful lads as big and powerful. Lee launching the opponents over to the outside with ease, a little Royal Rumble thing there, before Sheamus tossed them right back in. And Keith Lee pouncing Morrison so hard into the corner that the turnbuckle popped off. As soon as I watched it, that popped off very, very easily. But it got the desired effect in the moment. It was fine. Caught you by surprise, as if my headphones fall off. It caught you by surprise, even if upon replay you're like, right, you've kind of broken the spot here because you've shown us in slow motion how easily it came out. But in the moment, got me no surprise. After the break, Miz and Morrison's tag team cheekiness reaped its rewards, grounding Sheamus before he eventually powered back with a mighty Irish curse counter for the hot tag. Keith Lee with a Cobb-esque tour for our baddies, the big hoss swatting the Joe away. But as he amped up for the finish, Sheamus tagged himself in for the bro kick win. Keith Lee laughing all... he's laughing at all, he's all pally. But come on, it's wrestling. Keith will remember that notification in the corner. Triple H in the interview ring afterwards was all serious promo for Orton, disrespect towards the legend, blah blah blah. I'm battling through that because back to Keith Lee and Sheamus in the ring. And during the break, during Triple H's little promo, Keith Lee and Sheamus, they've gone from Keith Lee kind of laughing, but very clearly he will remember that tag there, to shoving each other. I told you Keith wouldn't let that slide. The chipper tone having shifted during the break to a pure shoving contest. Come on then, mate. Come on, mate. And the two big lads had their match, tossing each other from left to right, over the barricade, what have you. The entire time Keith goading Sheamus into showing his toughness. He got his request, but the Irishman was clearly knackered as the match went on. Unable to bring the fight to that level, and eventually Lee, with a ring post damaged arm, lifted Sharu up for the glory bomb, one-handed before powering him down for the win. And after the match, a sweaty Sheamus pushed away the handshake for a big old man hug. It's yay, a big old hug. Again, my British reaction, but it's in a pandemic. Why are you hugging so... you've wrestled a match and you're super sweaty. If it's happened by now. Similar notes to the Drew story in this one. No, not the COVID thing, the actual relationship with Sheamus. But consistency in how the Irishman treats those he respects. So thumbs up there. It's not in this story with Drew he did this and now he's in a different story. It's no, we've seen character consistency here with Sheamus. If he respects you, this is how he treats you. We'll say when I said that Sheamus wasn't able to fight back up, I'm not sure how definitely the story of the match that was. It was either really good blurring of the lines, whatever, but when Keith Lee went to launch Sheamus over the barricade, it didn't go quite right. And he had to, he landed on top of it, and he had to then shove Sheamus over the top. And after that, Sheamus just looked groggy the entire time. But Sheamus gets super sweaty anyway, and this was the second match. So did he get a bit of a painful one, and he was just a bit groggy after that, or he might have been standing really well. I don't know. The old wrestlers, they are mostly very good at it. After this, we went back to Drew McIntyre for his response to Goldberg, and yeah, I like this promo. I thought he delivered it really well. Like the older man coming out to teach respect to a champion who didn't say the things the lessons were based on. Because that was one of the things that the fans were pointing out after Raw. It's like, well, Goldberg came out and he said this, but Drew hadn't done any of those things. And for Drew to call that out and say that, that's either really good hindsight writing, or as people called out, Bill just said the wrong things and this is, changing tactics a little bit, or that was a setup for this. Like either way, we've seen the whole story. This was a nice second beat. Drew calling Bill's actions a disgrace to his legacy, and after Bill laid his hands on him, Drew thinks it looks like it's Goldberg who needs a lesson in respect with the whole "don't meet your heroes" thing. Because of course, putting Goldberg over as a legend before saying, "But what you did has tarnished that legacy." Yeah, really good promo from Drew. It's one of those things where, from WWE's past, I worry. Like Goldberg gets himself a title match, and it looks like he's there to put the other guy over. Then he wins. It's like, okay. We've got the Kevin Owens Goldberg one where it's clearly going to be Lesnar Goldberg, so I'm not including that one. But Fiend Goldberg last year has left a taste in the mouth, and if Goldberg is here to pop a nice little start to the Royal Rumble, I'm fine with this being a match at the Rumble. That's perfectly fine with me. Just like I had no issue with the Fiend versus Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. The issue was he won. If it's a special show like this, it's fine. But if Goldberg actually wins the title, Drew McIntyre beating Goldberg would give Drew a nice, awesome amount of momentum. But Goldberg last year, politically, I can't really speak, politicising his way into getting a title match, the backstage kind of antics, meaning, suddenly Saudi Arabia becomes champion. It's left a sour taste. So the fact they've booked him again in a title match after he proved, for me as a fan when I'm looking at it from the outside, proves why would you trust him after he screwed you last time? Yeah, but he pops a rating. I don't know if that's why he gets away with it or whatever. But yeah, it's Goldberg back. Yeah, it's not for me. I don't mean, it's not for me and it's not for me. It works both ways, that sentence. I understand I'm not the demo for this. I'm somebody who didn't start watching till 2005 or so. So I didn't watch the Attitude Era. I have no nostalgia for it because I was a kid. I didn't watch it. I wasn't a teenager until the noughties. Yeah, it's just, shame on me for not being a part of the massive culture, especially we see it in the comments on the Wrestling Headlines, Laws of Pain, whatever you call it, website, and the amount of times whenever I say anything against WWE, it's like, you should go back, or you want this Attitude Era stuff. It's just it's all you want, isn't it? With this sitting in your basement, doing that, fawning over the Attitude Era. It's like, I am one of these people who can just flat out say that I have no nostalgia for the Attitude Era, and the person I've come closest to in wrestling, in terms of stuff they've said in promos and things, to align to would be when Cody was talking about he just wishes the Attitude Era would fade away, as in it would just go. And for me, part of the problem is WWE haven't gotten over it. Still, that era is used to pop the ratings, and in 2021, it was over 20 years ago. And that we're getting to a point of celebrating 20th anniversary of the era afterwards, and it's still calling back stars from that era. I was like, look at them, come back. Yeah, but my generation isn't the one that would tune in on TV anyway. So I'm not the demo being gone for here. That's what I mean. So it's not for me, and it's also I'm not in the demo either. So they're going after what they're going after. Personally, as long as they use him to put over the guy, that's been their biggest problem, is not moving on. If they use this to actually move on. But the next time the ratings go down, back they come. So we'll see. Anyway, after this, Xavier Woods faced T-Bar. First off, Matt, the state of your promo, T-Bar. Growly, gravelly, baddie nonsense. I'm gonna hurt you. It's the state of your promo. Not his fault, that's what he's told to do. With Dijk, amazing wrestler. I was perfectly fine with the promos in NXT. They weren't world breaking, but they weren't this. Which is, it's better than this. And he's an amazingly talented wrestler. But on the main roster, he's big, punchy, scary, got red paint on my face. I just don't. I've turned him into a pirate. Not T-Bar. No, stop getting him over. No, it's not happening. No. Anyway, with Kofi at home, Xavier was out against Retribution all by himself. T-Bar, accompanied by the entire crew, would also say when they came back from break and Xavier was in the ring waiting by himself, hanging upside down, draped over the ring ropes, playing the trombone. As soon as I saw that, I was like, if there's a photo of that in high enough quality, 100% that is my focus point of the image for the thumbnail of this. And thank God there was. Yeah, needed me to rotate it weirdly to fit in. I put a lot of effort to get Xavier Woods to fit into that image because it's like, yeah, I need the fire stuff, but I'm not featuring Xavier after that drip thing. 100% he's in that image. Anyway, Ali was on the outside coaching the big lad as he wore down the smaller competitor, but it is Retribution, so Woods' comeback was only a matter of time. After Xavier got on top with an awesome top rope drop kick that sent T-Bar flying to the outside, the Retribution group caused a distraction to allow their man right back in and nail the inverted GTS for the win. Retribution actually won with a finishing move, not a roll-up, but like finishing move and all. Good for them. I don't know if over those 3 weeks that's also happened, but I can say they were winning with roll-ups, really. Like, it was a rare sight to see them hit a finisher, never mind win with it. But I don't think they've hit a finisher without it being immediately after a distraction, so there is that. But there's the thing as well of Xavier Woods, even though he didn't have his teammates around him, and showing like his weakness when up against a force like this, when he's by himself, and like up against the odds, but he did have T-Bar's number, and there's a reason Retribution jumped in, so yeah. Xavier Woods got to look strong before then up against a numbers game. Like, it was fine. Retribution for me scream filler right now. Like, lower mid-card fodder. But them actually getting a win, and I don't know if it's because Rumble season and T-Bar's big, so you could paint that. And like, to be fair, you can pop the nerdy NXT crowd with I'm part of that with Dominic Dijk coming out. I forgot his name. I've just been talking about it in T-Bar and Keith Lee. You do that spot. You get your Dijk Keith Lee spot. Pop the nerds. That's what I'd like to see. Even if you're just building up T-Bar this time of, he's a big lad. We need a big lad in the Rumble to get eliminated. T-Bar will do. Because my prediction for Retribution is that the Rumble is when they really truly feel like jobbers, and their eliminations are used as you're the jobber group in this Rumble, and out you go. That's my prediction. They get truly... all the momentum truly dies at this show. And for me, they're a faction that they were dead on arrival, and they've stayed dead, but they truly die at the Rumble in terms of like just perception and momentum. Like, no coming back after this kind of stuff. That's my prediction. Prove me wrong is my type of thing there. Like, I don't want that to happen, obviously. I highly rate so much the talent. It's just the gimmick is so bad. Like, Mercedes Martinez dodged a bullet. Look what she's doing now, challenging Io Shirai for the title. She got a refresh. She dodged a bullet with this. Randy Orton with Schreiber backstage. As I said, this will be Randy Orton talking about who's really going to take down Triple H. Just like with the other legends, he's going to do exactly that. And goodbye, Triple H. Again, I wasn't massively into what either guy was saying. They didn't really sell me on the match. But the actual thing itself was unique enough that, yeah, I'll remember it. United States Championship, Bobby Lee Lashley with MVP versus Matt Riddle. We got a full-on recap reminding us that Riddle tapped last week before the win that secured him his title match. Like, hey, we got the opening replayed, like the opening to the actual show. We got that replayed in full like 2 or 3 times as well. And again, I'm a lot more forgiving in this COVID era with shows like being suddenly flipped on their heads thanks to outbreaks. And really, it's something we're even getting these shows. Like over in the UK, yeah, WWE UK is the only wrestling to take place in getting close to a year. But we'll also add on top of that really when they used to repeat the opening like 3 times when the show was 90 minutes and we weren't in COVID, it's like, that's when it got a bit much. Like, it got pretty bad. In the 3-hour period as well, it felt like they had to repeat it like twice every hour sometimes if it was like a big segment. And it's like, come on, we're not goldfish. Like, this is bad levels of replays. Like, now I'm more forgiving. Like, yeah, I totally understand you replaying this a bit more because suddenly you've got all this time to feel like last minute notice. However, back in the day, it's painful sometimes. In the PG era, they replayed the opening segment so much on every show. I'm glad they've moved past that, honestly. It's one of the tropes I'm really happy that has been dropped. Anyway, even not fully dropped, but it's to a lesser degree. Lashers lashed in on Riddle before the bell could ring, beating the man down in the corner before going full pelt once the match was officially underway. Riddle getting his mouth busted open ended up really helping to sell the beating. The Bro just surviving thanks to the ring post on the outside, sliding out of Lasher's grasp and pushing the big lad into it. This match was Like, it's like both smooth as hell as well as like rough in places, but for me, the roughness to it really helped it. Riddle trying his best to amp back in as the pre-match beating clearly had him against the odds. He tried to fly in with something from the second rope, rebounding off. Lashley caught him like unkillingly, like kind of semi-dropped in, before mightily powering him up for a slam right down to hell. Like, honestly, for me, that move looked 10 times more awesome with the catch not being perfect. Like, it was just kind of, he had to like re-hook him and then power him up from a lower position, so he looked 10 times more powerful because of it. Yeah, Lashley won. He locked in the Hurt Lock immediately after, and Riddle tapped. But the pre-match beating was the thing that kind of sold it there. Riddle was always up against momentum, the odds, everything. And when he tried to fight back, he got mightily powered down. So, yeah. After that, Riddle ran on MVP saying, well, I wasn't able to beat the champion, but I sure as I can beat you, Porter. So, yeah, MVP runs in. And we got our third quick double duty of the night. Again, COVID era, honestly didn't find it to be the worst thing in the world. With Keith Lee, Sheamus earlier, Jeff Hardy, and now MVP. So, yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, for me, the worst thing of the past year was easily that era with Raw Underground over the summer, where it felt like there were just so many segments on the show. When we came back from break, MVP was on top laying in the fists, but Riddle eventually fought his way back in before Lashes flew with the mighty spear for the DQ. The Hurt Business teaching a lesson more than caring about the result. After the match, Porter delivered a stiff kick to Riddle's liver as he screamed in pain, and the Hurt Business smiled on the ramp. I guess like a cheeky grin. Not a cheeky grin. That's not the right description. A menacing grin. It's like, we've taught that lesson to him. Yeah, he's received that. Or that felt good as well from MVP. Yeah, a nice little bit after this. That's that for that one. I've not really got much to say on Riddle's stuff there. Hurt Business got the beating on him. And yeah, Wrestling Booking 101. Riddle's now got a mountain to... He's been presented with the mountain to climb. He's now got to climb it. And he's at the foot of that mountain now, having been kicked in the liver. That mountain's kicked his ass. Now he's got to conquer it. Yeah, they've set it up really well. Hurt Business their booking's been really, really well done. And this kind of establishes them within the story as the mountain to get conquered. And just in time for the Rumble for Riddle to have like beef with those guys as well. Anyway, after that, Styles and Adam Pearce really enjoyed this little backstage segment. They were projecting the scenario of the two of them possibly facing at WrestleMania. Once I cotted onto that's what they were doing. It's like, yes. I really like what AJ was hitting at there. This is like a comedic backstage segment where it's like both of them in the know they're clearly not going to be winning either of their matches, but just getting that scenario out there. Drew Gulak hilariously attempted to enter himself just like the other wrestlers did. He's like walking out going, I declare myself for the Royal Rumble. And just poking holes into how it actually works. Also audaciously asking for number 30. Obviously not going to happen. Pierce had none of it and was telling him, like, right, go on then. Prove yourself and beat AJ Styles then. Then he could maybe beat him. Drew putting a kind of face after he saw Omos was also there. So this then led into the match. No entrance for Drew. Immediately don't like his chances if you didn't like them beforehand. Gulak did get to show off a bit in the match. Like AJ helping him come across as like not a total loser before pinning him. Like the man who became a 24/7 chap in 2020 did come close to snatching the win a couple of occasions before AJ switched on. Obviously, the big moment, quite literally, being the look how tall Omos is. A spot with Drew on the outside. A big boot appeared in front of him as he lay there as the camera then panned looking up from the ground. Did you know Omos is very tall? Rolled back into the ring by AJ. Gulak ate the Styles clash and, well, doesn't look like he's number 30. Oh well. He gave it a good shot, Gulak. So yeah, once again getting over Omos and AJ's partnership, and Gulak gets to be made. This is the best Gulak has felt since his stuff with Daniel Bryan this time last year, right before the pandemic shut everything down. It's weird to think that this time last year still had crowds. It's still a bit strange. We got a quick Goldberg video package before going into the official match graphic. A quick note on that, I'm really high on the comic book graphics this year. The match card promos look really stylized and unique thanks to it. And like they've gone all in on it. Like they've not done it like just for the poster or like the background stylings or anything. Like the wrestlers themselves are also within that style, so the whole card looks unique. Massive fan of that. And that leads us into the final segment I have to talk about. So I'll have a quick sip of my cold tea. Horrible, but I need it for the sore throat. Nia, it's my fault for going all in on the voices. Have I learnt my lesson? Probably not. Nia and Shayna versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. The competitors walking out with like 15 minutes left on the show. I was like, well, something's going to happen shenanigan-wise in one of these matches. We found out which one it was. The picture-in-picture promo for the goodies had them declaring themselves for the Rumble. Like, I would go like, really? Right after the last match with Gulak? But the women's division's like too shallow to put out a full Rumble anyway, so like it's not really the same, is it? Like, more procedure to announce yourself when you're all guaranteed spots, I guess. Mandy Rose in the match itself ran riot over all after the hot tag, it taking Jax pulling her out of the ring to put a stop to the momentum. Jax and Baszler looking like the teamwork would swing it, but Shayna tagged herself in instead of allowing Nia to jump off Brett's rope and submitted Mandy in quick fashion with all the damage done. Like, yeah, it's Rumble season, baby. You gotta build the tension between the tag team. Like Nia clearly not looking happy. You gotta build to that partner eliminating partner. I will say, although there wasn't that much of a celebration as they looked a tad concerned for either Mandy or Dana, like it was off camera, but whatever what was happening was getting their reactions. Like their reactions were stalled by something off camera. Maybe I don't know if anything happened. I've not seen any reports on it, but in the moment they were clearly distracted by something. That said, it was a decent match. Got over Mandy as like a force to like keep an eye on. Dana took a lot of the offense. Mandy Rose got to look really strong, and they got the tensions between Nia and Shayna, both of whom looked strong when the momentum was with them. So yes, they've both been like, I guess, positioned as like big deals for the Rumble, but you're expecting them to cost each other the match. That's my massive expectation. Obviously, I say expectations. They're foreshadowing it. It's not oh my god, this is so predictable. It's like no, they're foreshadowing something happening. Yeah, that's the story they're telling. It's just this is like Act 1. The tensions start to be there. You give the reasons to show beforehand. You give them the reasons why they would pissed off and act like that. You don't do it as surprise out of nowhere with nothing built up for it. Like no, they're putting the work in. So kudos to that. Anyway, that is the end of this week's Raw review. I'm going to be going to this thing called bed. I desperately need it. I will thank you for listening, watching, subscribing, 5-starring on the iTunes thing, clicking the emoji on the website, whatever you do. And you can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicats. Damn as in damn. I banged on about my Twitch, didn't give the channel name. It's the implications with a second S. But yes, so like anybody who listens, likes, whatever, what have you, like means a lot. Like massive thank you. I was in a unique mood because before I came onto this, I was listening to the New Day podcast on Luke Harper / Rudy Lee. So yeah, I'm just in a weird mood to like say thank you, really, like to everybody. Like I don't think I say it enough, really. The fact that for some reason people listen, and I don't sit here with like 0 views every week or like under 10. Like the fact that I do actually get people, yeah, I don't take that for granted. I don't know. I feel like I want to say that, really, yeah. Anyway, you can find me on all different channels, and with that, I'll sign off now. So yeah, what did you make of Monday Night Raw? What did you make of the Fireball? It seems to have split opinion, but for me, it's right in there with the same criticism as the Bray Wyatt, The Fiend stuff. Like, the people who loved the previous stuff loved this one just as much. People who hated the previous stuff hated it just as much. And what is it with WWE and firing things into faces? Like Vince and eyes. What has this past year been? Why has he got this random fixation on damaging faces and eyes? And currently fire. I mean, it links to the Inferno match. I know, it's fine. Anyway, with that, I say thank you for listening, watching, liking, subscribing, clicking the bell, 5-starring on iTunes, I think it would be. Or you can 5-star on the Wrestling Headlines website, but you know... it doesn't help us as much as the podcast. You can donate to LOP Radio via RedCircle currently. There's no more easier way. But yeah, you can donate on RedCircle directly to LOP Radio. There's a link to LOP Radio in the description. I still haven't put in the link for the donate to page. I need to do that eventually. So anyway, thank you for all the stuff. And with that, I'll see you on Thursday for the NXT review and the video review. Adios.